What's up, everybody? This is Super Mike 2164, and I just wanted to do this one fairly quick. I want to get right to it. Uh, this is just something interesting that I was reading. I wanted to put it on the B1 Math, Science, and History channel. It is on Facebook too, Twitter. But this is like I said, this is for people who's into a little bit of religious history, African history, a little science, and also just kind of speaking factual. I see online where it's a lot of people, they always talking about how, oh, the Arab invaders of Africa, they're always talking about, the Arabs and everybody's invading black people stuff and taking black people stuff. And, kind of true, but really, I get irritated by everybody who wants to call all black people Africans, even though they know it doesn't make too much sense. You can't call every black person an African. First of all, when we go into the history of the word Africa, we know that it took like 3 wars, what they call Punic Wars. Hannibal Barca of Carthage, the Phoenicians. And the Phoenicians, we're going to find later, are what the Greeks called the Canaanites. And the Canaan, we're going to get into a little bit of that stuff. We're going to get into the actual history of some of these words, and we're going to trace a little bit of this stuff back. And you're going to have to kind of, the way we were taught here in the West and Christian West, the Christian little situation, the way, white people kind of taught us in a way where we want to, throw away the actual history versus the doctrine stuff when they shouldn't conflict. Just go into understanding. You got to admit that we were lied to and some stuff. So you should be expecting some of the stuff to, kind of be a little different than the way you were taught. We should expect this by now. We shouldn't be scared to learn, about things. And when we really learn about this stuff, a lot of this stuff was wars. A lot of the reasons why we're fighting today, or we don't want to listen to one different so-called name of religion or whatever. People think religion is evil or something, when religion is a vehicle. It's a vehicle. It's a spiritual science. It depends on if you got a evil group of people who are kind of dictating the doctrine for a specific purpose, they're manipulating the sacred text, then yeah, they're going to kind of mess you up. But that doesn't mean that the system is evil. The system is very beneficial, and we require that system. It's the best way to keep us ordered. You don't want to live in a society that's out of control. But who's the system of control? Who should control the system of control? Okay, that's where you're teaching people to control themselves. And I think that's very important. And we're lining ourselves up to a standard of perfection, of righteousness. So that's kind of where I'm getting. I think that it's important. The spiritual science that people call religion, we need that. We should be able to look at today and kind of the way the world is right now. Everybody's running away from, just because true enough, there's lies in the standard teachings of most of the religions that we have. But what you do is you find these lies and you expose them and you start teaching the truth. That's how you do it. You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Okay, if you got a preacher over here abusing people, a preacher is no it's just a human being. Okay. So we got to start getting stuff into perspective. But we're going to go into some of this stuff to try to untangle some of these confusion lies. It's too many. It's too many. We're not going to be able to do it all. But this is going to take us to a little bit of African history. And it's just going to get into the thing about what we're doing. To me, these maps. Okay, so if we look at this map here, what we're being taught that's Africa is this little gun thing. Literally, this is how serious we've been taught. I just want to see, okay, how the Western teaching has confused us. Number one, scientifically, according to magnetic science, north is actually magnetic north of the planet Earth is what we call south. Is Antarctica. That's magnetic north. Okay, and magnetic south is called the Arctic Circle. That's what we call the North Pole. Okay, now why wouldn't the cartographers, why wouldn't they just match up their North Pole with the South Pole with science, with magnets, with actual planetary geology? Why wouldn't they match up their language to align with what God has going on? Because they want their country to be on top. And if you line up magnetic north with the language of north, then Africa will be above their little Europe, and they didn't want that. That's how petty this thing it gets. Okay, so we got to question everything that we've been taught. So also the continent that we call Africa, then they separated right there at this thing called the Red Sea. Okay. And then they tell you this thing here is different than Africa. It's called Arabia. It's called Arabs. And the Arabs, just because they live right on the other side of that piece of water, they're completely different than the people they call Egyptians or Ethiopias or Addis Ababa, right there, right next to Yemen, Somalia, the Horners, all of these people. These are the same people, guys. Arabia is black. It's the same continent. It has the same animals. It's the same place. So black people coming from Arabia are black people. Now, this place called Iran up there, it used to be called Persia. And above that, we have a lot of white people in what they call Iran, but it was Aryan. That's for Aryan. And that has a history behind it of, white folks and stuff. But the point is, these people moved in later and invaded Arabia, which was black, which is Africa. It's actually a part of the continent of nature's Africa. Okay. Of God's Africa. That's Arabia. That thing called Arabia today, it's actually just another section of Africa. That's what God has in geology. So we need to understand that. So when we're talking our language, if we want to match with what Western white people taught us, we can continue to fight and confuse ourselves with all of these maps. See all of these little arbitrary lines that they draw. This is division. A bunch of division over a bunch of wars. This is why you lose. Just wanted to point that out. So we're going to go a little bit over that. So if we look at the languages, I just want to go over a little bit of the languages. With and like I said, we want to just do this real quick. We're going to go over this thing called I'm not expert at this. This is old Duwar. I can't even pronounce it right. Let me look at it so I won't get it halfway as wrong as I normally would get it. It's called, this is a Yoruba, the origin of the Yoruba tribe in Nigeria, present day Nigeria. So the old Ware. And I'm just going to read something. This is some history here from the Hausa tribe. Then we're going to read a little bit of that. And we just want to go over some of this. I think this was just interesting. I'm going to be reading from a book. And this book, I guess, is the brother's, I'm sure he's going to print it up again, but right now he doesn't have, I guess there's not too many available. I can't even find a cover of it. I was going to show you the cover. But we'll just read from it. Oduduwa Kisra. That's, I'm working on pronouncing that, but that's Yoruba, the Yoruba religion. Now this has a connection here. And these are tribes in present day Nigeria. These people are in present day Nigeria, which is over here, called West Africa right now. Nigeria, Benin, Niger, Hausa-land, which is North Nigeria. But I think I'm going to read it. Let's see here. Hold on. Some of this, I don't want to read too much of it. All right. Yeah, but let's look at this here. Actually, let's go over this. I want to back up just a little bit of some of just for you guys who's interested in this stuff. It's going to be a little bit of interesting history. Like I said, just putting it out here. It actually connects to the Bible. All right, so the Yoruba and other Hebrew Israelites of Nigeria. They call them Hebrew Israelites. Now, these people are from Arabia, so you can also call them Arabians. These people are from Arabia. A lot of black people think that just because they're black and they're in Africa, they were always where they are. We need to understand how long were people in Africa? And they moved all the time. So when we're talking about Arabian invaders, what made these people run out of Arabia? There's something there. Okay. So we can read a little bit of this. I'll read some of it. But basically, the Yoruba and other Hebrew Israelites of Nigeria. Now, keep in mind, I'm not a Hebrew Israelite, but to me, it's all the same. So I just look for truth. And I don't deal with false narratives. So if it's true, it's true. I can call myself a Hebrew Israelite. I don't have a problem with it. But to me, if I'm just looking for truth, that's what I look for. So, and I submit to all righteous systems of spiritual science that our people have. I respect them, and I teach my children that. So to me, I think it's important for us to be trying to repair splits instead of enhance these divisions, because our power is in repairing our people. All right, so they reposted from Africa source. This is not a title of my choosing, yada, yada. Okay, Yorubas and other Canaanite Israelites of Nigeria. Canaanite. Remember that word, right? And remember here, this is Genesis, King James Version. This is what we were taught over here in the West. Okay, now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem and Ham and Japheth. Unto them were sons born after the flood. All right, we're not going through all of that. I'm not going to all of this stuff. Here, let's look. Where do we go? Cush, Nimrod. Cush begot Nimrod. That might come up. Cush begot Nimrod. Excuse me. Okay. All right, where am I going to? Here. Let me see. In Canaan. All right, and the sons of Ham. So let's look at the sons of Ham. Cush, Mizrahim, and Phut, and Canaan. These are the sons of Ham. Okay? And Ham is one of the sons of Noah, right? Shem, Ham, Japheth. So Ham got Cush, Mizrahim, Phut, and Canaan. All right, so Canaanites. That's what we're looking at here. Yoruba and the neighboring nationalities located in Nigeria have this oral tradition, and they have this oral tradition of an origin extraneous to West Africa. Okay, and keep in mind the way that Africa got its name, But anyway, Hugh Clapperton in the 1820s reported a work by Sultan Bello, the Caliph of the Sokoto Caliphate, where he asserted that the Yorubas were descended from Canaanite tribe from Palestine. Now, this Palestine is not the same. The Palestine that he was talking about is not necessarily the Palestine that we understand of today. And see, this is the problem with names. We don't, we got to be careful. But around 1880, Samuel Johnson, a Yoruba Christian, also wrote a book that made a similar claims for Yoruba origin as Sultan, okay, Islamic Bellows in 1880. Johnson naively sent this work to the Church Missionary Society in England for review and publication. The Church Missionary Society suppressed the manuscript upon realizing the explosive information it contained. The society declared the book lost. You see how they hide truth? So this tells you that the church is not righteous. I mean, you can hide, but they will lie though, because if the truth works against their lie, they hide the truth and then they keep lying. The Church Missionary Society suppressed the manuscript, and they said that it was lost. It was not until 1923 that the Johnson brother was able to publish an edited copy of this work. Johnson's thesis was that the Yorubas were descended from the Lamarudu Nimrod. Okay, Lamarudu, the first king of Mesopotamia. Johnson died in 1901. Now, here we go. Back to your Bible. So, now let's look at this. Something's wrong here a little bit, because according to the Bible, this is what they're saying: Ham, Cush, Mizrahim, Phut, and Canaan. Okay? He had them, Canaan. Well, let's see. Maybe he didn't. Okay, Cush, not Canaan. Cush begot Nimrod. Now, maybe it's a different Nimrod. We don't know. Cush begot Nimrod. He began. Okay. All right. So, but the thing is, we got to understand that people are named differently, too. So we got to do the history to verify what we think. Just saying. All right. So the Nigerian historian and scholar claimed these things. I mean, I don't want to go, okay, Sudan, ancient Ethiopia, Kush, for the Yorubas. Okay. He claimed a meteoric origin for the Yorubas. Emmanuel Ugula, who another respected Nigerian scholar, claimed a Hebrew origin for the Isan tribe. Isan is part of the greater Edo nation, which is related to the Yoruba nation of Nigeria. Okay. Efik traditions claim that Efiks originated in Palestine, crossed the Sahara, okay, and arrived Nigeria via Sudan. The Efiks are located in southern eastern corner of Nigeria, Iberian Jews of Yoruba nationality. All right. So let's look at that map again. And like I said, when we're doing this stuff, we just want to be careful. So they got Palestine and stuff up here, but a lot of people saying that the Palestine that they're talking about is actually a little bit lower. But, we're not going to go into all that today. I just wanted to read some of this to get some of you guys onto it. I mean, like I said, this is a little bit of history stuff for people who like this stuff. But it's not only that, but to me, it actually helps us to untangle some of the lies that we've been taught, and it helps to get our language better. It helps us to get our language better, and it helps us to stop fighting. These are division points. When we go over this history, that's the purpose of it. It's not really to argue and beat people with history, but it's actually to try to resolve old wars and arguments. Like I said, all the divisions in this map, all these little divisions, they represent wars that allow you to be conquered. Tribalism is weakness. The type of tribalism that causes division and causes wars, that actually is weakness. Okay? So we want to that's what this information is for. It's not to create arguments. But I mean, you can have arguments in it, but your arguments should be productive. That's all I'm saying. So let's go back over it. All right, I just wanted to put that part out there. So these people are Israelites. They're from Arabia, the Yoruba. We're going to go into some more of that. And this, like I said, these people who talk about Arabian invaders of Africa. Arabia is Africa. It's black people's place. Okay, we Arabian. We black. All of those genes for millions of years were mixing up all up in there. And that stuff is all up in most of these black people, including some of us here in America. But let's keep going here. I want to go to this other part. We want to get into this. This is a history called Bayi Jeddah. Okay, this is an African legend. He's part of the Hausa. I guess this is how the tribe of Hausa started. And I think this is a legend. And like I said, I'm no expert on this, but what we want to do is I'm getting just some terminologies started off for everybody. Just give us a quick familiarity. These Hausa people, these are in Nigeria as well. Okay, this is some of them there. Okay, they're from Arabia. They're Arabs. Okay, so I'm going to read just a little bit of it. I'm not going to read the whole thing of this. We're going over this quick. All right, African legend by Claude Opera, Ibrahim Yakubu. Yakubu, that's the last name. Jacob. Jacob is another name for John. This is biblical stuff. These are the names of these people. This guy wrote this Apara, and this is a legend. So, but this is this guy's family name. So that's telling you that these people are connected. They have us over here in America, in the Western world, we could be told any old damn thing. And they're told any old damn thing over there too. So a lot of this stuff is lost and lied to them too, because they're very westernized. They believe the white man over, their own traditions, and then they don't fact check each other, and they want to argue a lot. But the point is, we need to understand the connections between these little names and stuff. So when we look at this, Yakubu, that is John or Jacob, Yakub. Okay. So our reviewer describes Jidya, an African legend, yada yada. Okay. A fantastic, thought-provoking read for this Nigerian comic fan at a time when northern Nigeria is perhaps as firmly established in the global consciousness as it ever has been. Predating Netflix well-received Queen Amina film by 4 years, Baya Jeddah tells the fascinating story of the legendary founder of the Hausa Kingdom, linking the Hausa foundation story back to the royal house of Baghdad. Keep in mind, that's not the same Baghdad as we see today, because the Baghdad of today, I think that was just it was after Muhammad. They founded that particular Baghdad like 762 years after the Christian era. All right, so Baghdad beyond to ancient Persia is a common thread in the etymology of many northern African cultures, an interesting one to examine. So they used their culture. They made a comic, which is good. This is a good way to transfer your history. That's what white people do. They put their little Norse gods in video games. They create history. And this is good because the kids will read it and it can keep it going. Also, the poignant and fascinating inclusion of the water well and the sword from the legend is amazing as it is depressing. How many young Nigerians will ever be able to see these sites and objects imbued with legend and history? Okay, so they just reviewed the comic book. So that's a thing that a lot of Hausa Nigerians should be familiar with. This by Yejeda legend. Okay, I just wanted to familiarize us with that. And then this word here, history of Oduduwa in Yoruba land. So the history of the Yoruba people is probably one of the most fascinating ones. One in particular is Oduduwa. Basically, he was the founder of the Yoruba. The legend shows that he left Arabia. Okay, so I don't want to read this whole thing because I want to read the actual book, The Founding of Ife. We'll read a little bit of that. This is a religion. As the founder of the Yoruba race, and they call it a race. Okay, that's interesting. The founder of the Yoruba race, the name Oduduwa signifies the power of the womb. Oduduwa also represents omnipotence, the ability to affect and reconstruct the physical reality at will. Oduduwa may also be translated as the quintessence of behavior. Oduduwa, or the reservoir of culture and manners. According to the oral history, Oduduwa's father, Lamurudu, came from the east. Sources cannot agree whether he came from Arabia, present-day southern Sudan, Benin, Egypt, or Ethiopia, but they do agree that he was an important prince in his land. And they say that Lamurudu was Nimrod. They say that in another spot. So when his position as a pagan, okay, was threatened by the arrival of Islam, okay, Lamurudu decided to take his family to a new land, However, he was not able to finish the journey, which was where Oduduwa stepped up. When he brought his family to the present day Ife, he conquered the people who lived there before that. He conquered the people who lived there before that and became the first Oni of Ife. This signifies the start of the Yoruba dynasty and empire. So, are these the Arab invaders of Africa? This is the kind of, because they are black people, but that's them. That's the Oduduwa. So, that's a point of a conflict of interest that we should answer. All right. Let me go over this here. Then I want to read this, and then I'm going to be out on this one. I just want to put this out in the universe. Hold on. Stop sharing that. Now I'm going to read this here by Dr. Wesley. I'm trying to find his actual book. But this is the book I'll be reading from. Ra is Allah. Why Ansar Imhotep is wrong. He doesn't have it available. I wanted to show the book bigger, but pretty much this is the book that I'm reading from right now. And in this book, I'm going to start reading real quick from, I think I'll start here. Let me see. I think we'll start reading from 104. All right, so this is conflicting. This is a big deal that we need to talk about and answer. So they're saying here that the Borgawan Kisra traditions and royal rituals are independent witnesses to the general authenticity of the Yoruban narrative of origins. They confirm for us the Arabian origins of some Yoruba and of some of the kin groups, such as Edo and Hausa. Okay, they confirm the quasi-Muslim identity of the ancestor and that he was a noted practitioner of Arabian magic. They confirm for us also the mortal hatred for Islam, but they also confirm that the situation was a bit more complicated than hate. It was a love-hate, or at least acceptance-rejection. And actually, I'm going to show this one. Let me do this, because he has some something else we should look at here. Let's look here. Yeah, this is the map that I'm looking at here, because this is not the book, but this is Dr. Wesley's. He has this PDF here. So that's Dr. Wesley. This is Dr. Wesley's book, but this is kind of on this, but not exactly what I'm reading, because this is in the book. All right. So some Arabian magic there, or Arabian magic square. Well, actually, let me turn it here because this is where I'm looking. This is the map that I'm looking at now. Right there. Y'all should be able to see that. All right, so it's like a love-hate or at least acceptance rejection. In northern Nigeria are the Hausa states, uh, situated between the Niger River and Lake Chad, north of Yorubaland. According to both Yoruban and Borogan traditions, the Hausa ancestors were among those fleeing Arabia, the Arabians, and the Oduduwa Kisra. It is therefore not unexpected that the Hausa origins legend makes the same basic point as the Yoruba and Borowan traditions do, though on the surface it may appear to differ from these in an important way. In the late 19th century, after Johnson's Araucan informants were telling him of the Arabian origins of the Oyo Yoruba, Adam Michelin, German district governor in Togoland, was told by an informant that the Hausa town Katsina that the ancestors of the Hausa were two Arabs. So basically, they told this German guy that the ancestors of the Hausa were two Arabs who settled in the Gabi area. According to the royal tradition of Dara, the oldest town and center of Hausaland, the Hausa apparently came from the Near East in two waves. An original group came from Canaan, traveling via Egypt and North Africa through the Sahara to central Sudan and founding the city of Dara. The first rulers of Dara were a line of successive Canaanite queens. When this migration occurred, is not stated. When this migration occurred is not stated. Lang argues that it occurred in the pre-Christian period, but his evidence is subjective. All right. So the bottom line, though, is that the migration came from Canaan. The Yoruba traditions relate Hausa origins to Oduduwa Kisra migration. All right, so now let's see. From Baghdad via board, they were married, reigning Canaan queen. She was thus represented. Pre-Christian. All right, then I want to skip here. According to this Bayajida tradition, the Yoruba and the Hausa share a paternal grandfather. This is consistent with the claim made in Yoruba. So the Hausa and the Yoruba, they shall have a grandfather. So this is consistent with the claim made in Yoruba and Borgawan tradition that grandfather is none other than Lamurudu, which is Nimrod. According to them, according to some people, that's Nimrod, who is shared not only by the Yoruba and Borugu traditions, but by the Hausa as well during the annual Gani festival. Okay, so they have a festival that kind of commemorates that. And I'm going to skip some more because there's a part that I want to go to that gets into the Bible part. And then we're going to end it off because I don't want to keep this too long. So let's see. This does not mean that, okay. So they don't know if the Bayajida figure is historically valuable. Okay, so they're not sure if that's a historical actual situation. But in 1966, this legendary figure actually personifies a people. The Semitic migrants into Dara is very attractive. So while Oduduwa Kisra was an individual historic leader of a movement of people out of the Near East into West Africa, Bayajida is a mythical personification of that migrating people. Despite some modern scholarly cynicism, the basic story no doubt reflects real historical developments. Be that as it may, we still have the problem of an apparent conflict in the narrative of origins. Were these migrating people from Syria, Palestine, Canaan, okay, and Baghdad, Iraq, or from the Hijaz, which we can dismiss the Baghdad talk as Lang acknowledges. So this is the Baghdad he was talking about. So Baghdad today is different from what we thinking Baghdad is. So in fact, so this is Lang. This is a quote in Dr. Wesley's book. So in fact, the well-known town of Baghdad was only founded in 762 Christian era during the early Abbasid period, and it is hardly conceivable that Kanuri and Hausa traditions refer to a migration from that city during the Islamic period. There is no evidence for such a migration, and if a minor migration had occurred in the Islamic period, it could not have given rise to a sacred kingship, which pre-Islamic Canaan certainly was. In view of these different designations, it would appear that reshaping of the information concerning origins took place in terms of better understood Arabo-Islamic geographical notions. Baghdad and Yemen are therefore geographical destinations borrowed from Arab historiography. Basically, indeed, most of the reports actually have Bayajida coming from Arabia, not Baghdad, as Demetria Bodarko and Peter Rose report. Okay, so basically, you know, they're saying that the Hausa came from near Mecca. Okay, so basically they came near Mecca. And these, you know, like I said, this stuff here is for people who get into this stuff. You know, this is more science, history. You know, believe it or not, there's a lot of people that sit here and debate this stuff. But you got to realize that this is just like religion. You got to realize whole generations of people, whole countries uh, grew up with these origin stories. So this is a big deal for them. And when we listen, and when we in the Western societies, especially Black Americans and stuff, when we're trying to understand Africans and some of the politics that went on over there, especially that leads up to the slave trade, and you know what made these people weak enough and easy to divide and conquer. These are some of the lessons that we can get from this stuff, and that's kind of why I'm doing this. But I'm gonna um, I'm gonna kind of fast forward a little bit. Let me see. I'll leave that up there, but I'm not going to read that. Let's see here. All right, so let's see here. So most of the traditions, it is the son of Oduduwa who actually migrates, not the father. So it's the son of Oduduwa, not the father who actually migrates. So that's Oduduwa. So this is a big deal, guys, for people in African traditions. You know, the Pan-Africanist people. You know, a lot of us who don't get into this as much, we think a lot. We might dismiss this, which I think is a mistake for us to do that, because, and I do also, because when people dismiss your religious ideas, then it just becomes a division point and everybody's arguing. But if you start to understand, you'll start to see the connections, and then you'll start to see the real issues. And then you can actually, when you debate, at least you're debating on something that, is more authentic versus just, disrespecting each other. But let me finish reading this, and then we'll be done with this. In most traditions, it is the son of Oduduwa Kisra who actually migrates, not the father. Namudu. Okay. In any case, the Hausa of Gobir know nothing of a Bayajida, a name only actually documented in very late versions of the tradition from Baghdad. Instead, they claim that the name of their ancestor was Muhammad Maigiti, the owner of the axe, Muhammad Maigiti. So the Hausa, Black Africans, they said their ancestor is Arab, okay, who led them from Arabia to West Africa. We therefore have no reason to doubt that the Bayajida migration was from Arabia, just as Oduduwa migration was. But what of the migration from Canaan? Can we dispense with that as well? No, we can't. Because we don't need to. We only need to correctly understand what is meant by Canaan. So we find a tradition of West African groups originating with Canaan in several early Islamic sources. Now keep in mind, a lot of us, when we do research, all we're doing research in is in English. So you're missing out the primary sources usually are in different languages, and a lot of it's Arabic. So this is where this man is going. He's going to the sources. So when you look at the early Islamic sources, Ibn Qutayyaba, in his Kitab, and Kitab means book al-Ma'arif, records a report according to which Black Canaan, son of Ham, son of Noah, fathered the Sudan Black peoples of West Africa. So he's saying that this man, excuse me. So this guy wrote a book. In his Kitab al-Ma'arif, records a report according to which Black Canaan, son of Ham, son of Noah, fathered the Sudan. So all the Black peoples of West Africa. Okay. So the Sudan means Black peoples of West Africa. The Kazan or Faison and Zagawa, which is Zaghawa. Al-Tabari likewise lists Canaan's sons as Nuba, Al-Zanaj, and Faison, and Zagawa. According to Al-Mas'urdi, Masudi, Canaan's son Cush went west and crossed the Nile. Some of his descendants are West African groups like the Zagawa and Kanim. Muhammad Bello, son of and successor of Usman Dan Fodio, who founded the Sokoto Caliphate of northern Nigeria, Dan Fodio. These are Arabs. wrote in his Infaq al-Masur 1812. In it, Balliol presents his understanding of the origin of the Yoruba. And basically, he said it states in consequence of their being driven by Yaruba, son Khatan, out of Arabia into western coast between Egypt and Abyssinia. From the spot they advanced into the interior of Africa till they reached Yarba, where they fixed their residence. So, the bottom line is this is, this showing you that where Canaan is. Basically, in a there's a tribe in Arabia called Al-Canaan, Al-Kian. Let me see if I have it here. And, we'll look in some of this here. Actually, let's see if I got it right here. The Tuwa. There's some Tuwa maps. I'm just putting out some interesting stuff just, for certain people who interested in that. If you guys, let me know what you think. I'm going to go here. Finish this off. Hold on a second. Hold on. Share this. Do it like this. So this Valley of Tuwa, the Quran says this is where the Moses burning bush was. Here's Al-Islam. Now, a lot of Hebrew Israelites think that the Quran shouldn't be read, but guess what? Your lost tribes of Israel is there too. It's recorded. There's somebody who, let me see, and I'm going to finish this off here. All right, let's see. So according to this guy wrote this book. Let's see. Let me see. I'm fast forwarding. As I read more than I can actually read on here. And like I said, this is in Dr. Wesley's books here. I just want to get to this part for you guys. Let's see. So Assyrian Palestinian, but the Western Arabian areas. Let me see. I don't know if I see it. All right, so yeah, in his book, the Bible comes from Arabia. So this is what this guy wrote in his book, The Bible Comes from Arabia. Salibi argues quite persuasively using toponym, places, names, analysis, and the true land of the Hebrew Bible is actually West Arabia, not Palestine. And keep in mind, guys, if you read the Bible, a lot of people, white people have told you for so long to hate, people, Arabic, and all these kind of things. But if you look at the places in the Bible, all those actual places, people speak Arabic. People speak a Semitic language. Even Hebrew is like a kind of Arabic. It's almost like a what you call those things. Basically, like it's almost like it's just another way to speak the same language. It's pretty much, the words are pretty much the same. Instead of salam, they say shalom, alaikum. It's just like a Jamaican, would say, you know, greetings, man. And when it's greetings in English, I can't pronounce, I don't remember the word for it, but the bottom line, it's just a dialect. It's just a dialect. Hebrew and Arabic are pretty much basically the same language. They're pretty much the same language. They're just different dialects. Of course, there's some differences there, but the stuff sounds pretty much very similar. You can just listen to it. You can tell that they're very similar. So, this stuff is the same stuff. So y'all shouldn't be scared of none of this stuff. It's not a different religion. It's really from the same place. But yeah, this guy, he put this book out, said the Bible comes from Arabia. And basically in this Bible, he went, Jewish scholars, nearly 1,000 years after after biblical Hebrew had ceased to be spoken. Celebri argues that the place names of the consonantal text of the Hebrew Bible actually indicates that most biblical history played out in non-Syrian Palestine, but in West Arabia, areas today of Asir and the southern part of the Hijaz. It is the case that identification of the biblical promised land with Palestine was made via an unscientific and haphazard approach analysis by biblical scholar Edward Robinson of the Union Theological Seminary in New York, who visited Palestine in 1837, 1838, and in 1852. So if you do a more rigorous analysis, Celebri revealed that a large number of biblical place names actually have living counterparts and have their biblical coordinates in Western Arabia, and that very few have counterparts in Palestine, and thus the biblical geography perfectly matches Western Arabia, but really doesn't match Palestine. So, basically he's saying that, if you're talking about you Hebrew Israelites, you're Israelites, or you're talking about the lost tribes of Israel, if you don't look into Arabia, these are Arab people. That's what he's saying. Those are the lands that you're talking about. That's where this stuff comes from. That's where the Genesis, that's where this Bible story plays out at. It plays out here. That's where this stuff plays out. It doesn't play out, it plays out right in here. It's all Africa and Western Arabia. That's where it plays out. So I'm going to end it off there, guys. This is the B1 Math, Science, and History channel. This is Super Mike. Press the thumbs up. Let's talk about it. If you have comments, go ahead and put it in there, and let's see if we can get a little bit of feedback on this topic. And I would like to be educated more on this topic. So if you have any more insight on it, go ahead and put it in the comments, and maybe we can do part 2, or maybe we can talk about it together. That'd be cool. All right, guys. Peace.